This is Weinsberg in Baden-Württemberg. This is, I think fair to say, the main street. We've got the tourist information office here, and over here we've got some place called Weibertreu Reisen. So, Weibertreu, the Faithful Women. Well, that's named after the place. Then the business, the tourist office, or not tourist office, the travel agency, sorry, is chosen to be called after the Faithful Women, and this is what we're going to have a look at right now. Faithful Women, but we'll also pass this fountain, and this is, I believe, the town hall. And up here we will find a very interesting new statue, which is all part of what I'm going to talk about here. And the statue is up here, the Faithful Women. So who were these faithful women? In 1140, Conrad of Hohenstaufen had a dispute with Welf VI, and Welf had inherited a castle here at Weinsberg, and so as part of this dispute, it all got a bit nasty. They started fighting each other, and the castle here, which you can see on the top of this monument, there you go, there's the castle. You'll have to see it in real life in a different video, because I mightn't put it in this one, or I might, haven't decided yet. Anyway, so this dispute got really nasty. There was a battle outside the castle. Welf managed to clear off, but Conrad said this, is that the castle's going to surrender, the women can leave, and they can take any of their stuff that they want to with them. Anything they can carry can be taken out, but the men have got to stay, and it didn't look too good for the men. Allegedly the men were to be killed, and so what the women did was this, allegedly, according to the story now. They got the men, they carried the men down the side of the hill, and it's a pretty impressive looking hill as well for them to actually carry the men down. But that's what they did. So you can see the women in the front, and they've got the men on their backs, piggybacking off the women. Now apparently one of Conrad's men said, hey, that's cheating, and he wanted to do the men in anyway. But Conrad said, no, I gave my word. And so that's how the men survived. And so there you can see the men coming out of the castle, being carried by the women. Now, before discussing if this story is true, I shall tell you a story from the Babylonian Talmud, which is even older than this. It's a good 500 years older. Now, according to Jewish law, a reason for divorce could be that there was no children, so it was blamed on the women in those days. And now the Talmud, which is a biblical commentary, states very clearly what happens in the case of divorce. So how much alimony a woman can get. So she's got it, that is obligatory, that the woman's paid alimony. But anyway, so there was this couple in the Talmud, and they'd been together for 10 years, no kids. But anyway, they got on really well, and so what they did was they had a big party to celebrate their leaving. So it was a good farewell dinner, and the gentleman said, you know what, you can have anything you want in the house, just take it, anything you want. And so what the lady did, she got him plastered, and then carried him home. He woke up in her house, or in her father's house, and she said, well, you said I could take whatever I wanted, so I took you. And there you go, there's a story from 1500, and the sequel to that story was that they did go on to have a child. So the idea is not entirely new, it wasn't then, Do I believe this story? Well, the answer is no, I don't, because the story comes from the Cologne Chronicles. And now the Cologne Chronicles date things, it's a history of things happened from the end of the 6th century to approximately almost the end of the 12th century, 11th century, sorry. And as I understand it, the first reference to this actually dates to 1500, although I may actually be wrong on that one. So I'm just saying I don't believe it currently, but I might actually believe the story. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind that people like Welf and Conrad existed, and there was this conflict. Of that I have no doubt whatsoever. But did this faithful women actually happen? I don't know. I don't think it did. So I'd want to actually see a more contemporary account of it to actually believe in it. But why am I, as a historian of the 20th century, rabbiting on about this? Well, I think obviously there is a link, and the link is as follows. You can see how the Nazis would appreciate a story of faithful women, and the leader of the National Socialist Women's Organization, Gertrude Klink, approached Goebbels in 1936 with the aim of doing something big for the 900th anniversary, or even celebrating this event in one way or the other. And Goebbels didn't bite. He didn't think it was such a good idea. I don't know why. It strikes me as being just the sort of thing that they'd have gone for. In 1938, another attempt was made. Now, the idea, I think what they wanted to do was around the area where I am right now, was to make it some kind of, I don't know, museum or women's institute or whatever, and to celebrate these faithful women, what with the 900th anniversary coming up on the 21st of December 1940. However, by then, of course, Adolf had started his war, and that was the end of that. So no great celebration for this event. Now, if I'll come down here, and from here we get a much better view of the castle, and you can imagine where the idea actually comes for something like this. It is absolutely a hilltop fort. It's got these wonderful wine terraces that you'll find in this part of Baden-Württemberg, and the women allegedly carried the men down, and today you can of course walk up the terraces and get to the top of the castle, and from where there are some quite outstanding views. And indeed I have actually used the views from up there in other videos I've done in the past, because this is my second visit here. Now, Gertrude Klink was born in 1902. If you haven't heard of her, you might actually have heard of her son Ernst, because he was a historian, but he wrote this revisionist stuff related to the SS. Maybe I'll come on to him a little bit later, if I remember, because I'm just walking around and talking. So so her first husband, who was born 1895, he joined the Nazi Party in 1920, so it's the same time really as Hitler joined. And he was campaigning in the 1930 elections, and he had a heart attack. So that was the end of him. And but she had 4 children with him, one of whom was this Ernst, who I have just mentioned. The she had a second husband, and she had a third husband. She divorced from him, I think it's 1936, and her third husband was actually a war criminal as well. But I'll come on to maybe do a separate video, not to come off the point too much. So the idea of the Women's League or Women's Organisation, Gertrude Klink was the third leader of this organisation, and this organisation, as you can imagine, wasn't one to further women's rights, because there was certainly, under the Weimar Republic, there was a great deal of equality. This was a Nazi party, conservative, going back in the history, taking people's rights away from them. According to Nazi ideology, women's place was in the home, bringing up the kids, and not going out to work. That is why there were some of the problems later in the war, when you had foreign workers being brought into Germany to do jobs that in Britain, or for that matter the United States, were being done by women. And you can imagine the problems that this caused, even with things such as translations, trying to explain to people what they had to be doing. But Hitler didn't want women to be spoiled by work. Their job was to produce kids. Oh, here you go. Conrad the Third, Hohenstaufen, son of the Prince Friedrich of Swabia. So he's got a mention here. And there's the view. Pretty outstanding. I haven't put the telephone on a gimbal. It's much easier to put it on a gimbal than holding it in my hand like this. I should have put it on the gimbal for this. Isn't that it's a fantastic view over Weinsberg. It's really, really nice place here, I think. I really appreciate it. So today's a working day. I'm supposed to be at work right now, but I said I was going to go to Weinsberg and to do this. So up here we've got this nice big seat. I can sit on there and appreciate the view. Now, Gertrude Klink, she lived until 1999, so she actually even outlived her son Ernst. Now, her son Ernst, she had 4 sons on her first marriage, 4 children, 2 of which ended up in the SS. And Ernst, he was wounded, I think it was in the Battle of France, but then he took part in the Battle of Kharkiv and the Battle of Kursk, and at Kursk he was wounded the second time, but this time this put him out of action for the duration of the war. But after the war he got a job working for the military history department I don't know if it was the army or I can't remember, but yeah, anyway, a military history department, official military history department. But at the same time he was secretly a member of the HIAG, which was the help organization to former members of the Waffen-SS. And this has often been referred to as sort of Odessa, but I wouldn't go call it that far. And his mother ended up outliving him. She died around 1992, I think it was, or thereabouts. I can't quite remember exactly. So there you go. There's the story of the faithful Women of Weinsberg and how the National Socialists sought to exploit this. I'm going to call it a myth, but it mightn't be a myth. When I mentioned it to my boss and one of the clients of the company yesterday, our company, that I thought it was a myth. They got a bit miffed. No, it's true. Everybody will tell you it's true. So I said, yeah, but you got to look at when the first record of it was and who made the first record. I mean, if it turns out the first record was, contemporary, I'll rest my case and I'll say, okay, yeah, I can go along with that one. But I do need to point. I did check this, that Conrad, as a rule, didn't treat his captives in such a way as to bump them off. Anyway, good. So, anyway, I hope you found that interesting. So I'm now uploading every day. On most days you get a shorts video, but sometimes there's a longer one like this. On Fridays there's always a longer one, either me wandering around in the countryside and rabbiting on, or it's a documentary style video. With documentary videos, I hope that there aren't mistakes in them. I mean, it can happen. When I'm talking off the top of my head, I can't check things, and so therefore mistakes could happen. But when I find a mistake, I always point it out. Yeah, seeing as we're almost at the top, we'll go up to the top and I'll give you a view from up there. So I'm panting along now. Not easy doing it this way. I'm almost at the top. But the best views were there where we were earlier, except for maybe on the battlements. This is the way in. There's the cafe. You're supposed to pay to come in, which here, if I give you a quick look, hope nobody will mind. And you can see something was happening here. Oh. And here's the view, pumpkin season, as you can see. One thing I always think of when I come up these places is the effort that went into building them, because you think all of these stones had to be brought from somewhere, and it's a huge amount of work. Yeah, I'll pull it out a bit. You can see, get a better view like that. Let's walk up here. Now, I got the impression that what the Nazis wanted to do was actually build not only something below, but also up here as well, to make this into part of their monument. You see they got the power station of Heilbronn. You can see that all for kilometres around. Oh, I really did make a mistake with this. I should have put it on. I thought I'll just make it a quick 3-minute video to say about the monument, what happened here, and it's now gone on for 20. But anyway, gives you an idea of what you can see by coming to places like this. So I work in Heilbronn, but I say I work there because most of the time I'm somewhere else. The company's in Heilbronn. I mean, it's just as well I came now, because a lot of things that wouldn't have got done if I hadn't turned up, possibly. There's one of the battlements, they can't get in there. There's the S-Bahn as well. S-Bahn here is really impressive, and it goes a really long way. When I go to the airport, which is about 80 kilometers in Baden-Baden, and or Rastatt really, Baden-Baden. Between Rastatt and Baden-Baden, they cheekily call it Karlsruhe Airport, but sometimes I take the S-Bahn all the way. Now, the S-Bahn is the equivalent of the local train. But it goes out into the countryside. It's not like one of the inter-town trains. It is a train within the town usually. So that's why I find it really impressive. I bet it's running at an enormous loss. Oh, there we go. There's more view here. Well, whilst we're up here, we'll have a look at the whole thing. I mean, it's not every video going to a early medieval castle. Now, this castle itself was destroyed in the peasants' revolt of 1525, which was very much taking place here in this area. I noticed that Weinsberg town has prepared a number of videos on YouTube relating to the peasants' uprising. I really like doing these things. Obviously, I've got to work as well. But I mean, if it were possible, I would do the possible. I don't know. I like what I do actually, because I suppose I would have just gone round making videos and nothing else, if that were feasible. I suspect we're not going to get up here. Let's just give it a little touch. No. So this is the thin tower, and it's closed. Thin tower's closed, out of action. There we go. Oh, there's an exhibition on the Herren. Got the word in English now. Lords of Weinsberg. There's lots of nice places to go to in Germany. I was thinking of doing a video, top 5 places in Germany to visit, and this is going to be on them. And the others are Limburg an der Lahn, Celle, which is the north of Hanover, Görlitz and Bautzen. I was thinking that Görlitz and Bautzen, maybe they're a bit too close together to maybe I'll think of another one. Oh, and Berchtesgaden is superb as well. Right, so there's Heilbronn, and here is the motorway. Now this motorway here, I think the intersection actually dates to National Socialist times, 1938. And there's another thing I'd like to point out, actually, because this is, I do like to point out things which are commonly held to be true, but which aren't true, is about Hitler and the motorways, as though it was the Nazis who invented the motorways. So the Nazis weren't very nice people on the whole, but at least they invented the motorways. That is not true. There was a motorway in Italy, and the first one, I think, is one to the south of Rome. It depends how you actually interpret it, of course. I mean, there's even been interpretations in the United States before then, but in Germany the first motorway was opened in 1932. Admittedly, it was the Nazis who built. They developed them far quicker than, for example, it took 30 years later in the United Kingdom. I found on YouTube there was a video. I found a video, a documentary about the construction of the M4, which leads from the west of London, and people were complaining about it. That's another thing. I keep thinking I've got to do things on the history of the motorways. Anyway, you can't do everything. There you go. So these poor ladies had to carry the gentleman down here. And there was one thing I should have mentioned this, but I had it in front of me. There was one lady, she had a husband and a pig she was carrying down the slopes. Okay, thanks so much for watching. Okay, I'm genuinely going to end this video now. Hope you found it interesting. All the best from me, and bye for now.